Hi, welcome to your poetry workshop, the Costa Rican edition. So, we're going to be talking about line breaks and how line breaks are actually the hidden form inside of poetry. So, before now, you may have just been hitting return at the end of lines, thinking that you were just doing it at a place that sounded like a good spot to pause. But you've probably been stopping at what we call an end stop rhyme, which an end stop line is people's sort of number one place to stop. So let's take a look at what that actually means by looking at a specific example. So we did a sonnet, which means you have some experience with form. Form is a rhyme scheme, syllable count. There are these rules, like there were rules for sonnets. But we want to take a look at what happens to a poem when you take all that out, when you remove the rhyme scheme, remove the syllable count, when there aren't any rules. And the question it leads us with is, if a poem doesn't have any of those rules, then what makes it a poem? So we're going to take a look at that first. What's different about a poem and what it does than what prose does, or things that are in paragraphs and stories or essays, we call that all prose, is that it has different goals. And there are a couple of poetic goals I want to discuss. Poetry is kind of sneaks up on you. An essay usually announces what it's going to be about. A short story has a sort of arc that it follows. Poetry is kind of trying to connect with you in some way that is unannounced or potentially unexpected. And it also tries to persuade you not with the force of its arguments, not with the clarity of its reasoning, but instead with how beautiful its sound and image is. And the line break is really important for both of these goals. So let's take a look at some line breaks. Where you break your line allows you to control your reader's attention. So you may discover that if you break a line in a certain place, your reader will be able to focus on a new image or a new phrase because you've given them the space to do that, which a sentence may not have given them. You may be able to emphasize certain sounds by breaking the line in a certain place. Speed up or slow down how fast or slow your reader reads. Really short line breaks can sometimes give us the space to really slow down, whereas really long ones can kind of encourage a rant-like quality. Both of those qualities are in the poetry packet that you guys are going to be reading for next week. And it can also create some links between images or thoughts. Putting a line break in a certain place and repeating that line break in similar places kind of creates this linking that happens. It happens silently. So one of the poets that does a really good job of breaking up line breaks or putting line breaks in order to create different effects is William Carlos Williams. Now, he's somewhat of a modern poet. He died in the mid-60s. And this, in entirety on your screen, is one of his famous poems called So Much Depends. So we're going to take a look at it specifically. So much depends upon a red wheelbarrow glazed with rainwater beside the white chickens. Now, this is actually not the line breaks that he used. The line breaks that he used are very different from these, and they encourage us to slow down quite a bit. So the poem in its entirety is, if it was just kind of expressed as a sentence, would read across the page like this. So much depends upon a red wheelbarrow glazed with rainwater beside the white chickens. Now, if we paused at the end of each line the way we naturally do in speech, it would be like this. So much depends upon a red wheelbarrow glazed with rainwater beside the white chickens. Each of these lines is called an end stopped line. What that means is that the line breaks are at the natural pauses of our speech. We would usually say so much depends upon a red wheelbarrow. We wouldn't say so much depends upon a red wheelbarrow. So you see that this is kind of chunking the language as it would naturally fall with our natural pauses. Now, this is not what he did with his poem, however. This is his poem. So much depends upon a red wheelbarrow glazed with rain, water, beside the white chickens. Now, all of these lines have been what's called enjambed. And enjambed means that they break the line at a place that is not where you would naturally pause. And usually that encourages us to sort of slow down as we're reading it. And a lot of people conjecture that this poem is actually entirely does what its message is. Its message is that we need to slow down. We need to notice the details of the people around us, the things around us. We need to see the beauty in them. And in order to force you to do that, William Carlos Williams in this poem enjambs all of the lines. In fact, he even breaks apart one of the compound nouns that is in this poem, wheelbarrow, into two separate words. So let's take it again. Let's really emphasize the line breaks in order to try to see how much he's able to slow us down and really appreciate the scene. So much depends upon a red wheel barrow glazed with rain, water, beside the white chickens. So it's almost as though by breaking the lines in this way and giving us each of these images separately, he allows each of them a sort of space to really hit us before we move on to the next line. And so this is a way in which a person can really emphasize the silence of the poems and slow the reader down. All right, so that is our little mini lesson on line breaks. In your packet for today, you will see poems by Robert Creeley, who was influenced by this poet, W.C. Williams, in terms of lots of enjambed lines, lots of slowing us down. And then I put another poet next to him who very much does the opposite, who has lines that are very wordy, very long. And so I want you to really kind of look at where they're breaking their line at. Are they breaking it at our natural pauses? Are they breaking it in order to try to slow us down more? And then return to your own work. Take a look at your line breaks. Hopefully you'll begin to see them in a new way. All right, I hope that you guys had a good week, and I'll see you very soon.